Hi, good morning to everyone, and welcome to our morning review of the Nigerian business papers. My name is Kalu Aja. How you guys doing? Wherever you're listening from, Lagos, Port Harcourt, or Abuja, we got you this morning. Let's talk about the business of the week. See if we have any nice stories. Not a lot, but let's see if we can, analyze a few stories I've picked out from the papers. So I've got this guy from Punch, right? It says the reps summon 63 agencies for spending 2 trillion illegally. So the story is about the House of Representatives. They are summoning about 63 MDAs. These are like, not ministries per se, but agencies of the government like NPA, NPC, all that kind of stuff, right? They are summoning them to come and do a public presentation of their accounts. So the House of Reps Committee on Public Accounts is summoning them based on a query written by the President of Nigeria, Mr. Muhammadu Buhari. So what's going on is this. The federal government, right, has its budget, and it's essentially allocates funds to MDAs. No, it allocates funds to ministries, right? But the MDAs, if they don't get funding from the budget, they can go off budget and essentially fund themselves via internally generated revenues. So what's going on, and you can hear that the reps sometimes say this, if you're like an MDA that generates revenues, because you don't go to the budget and get appropriation, these guys essentially just spend as they see fit. There was a time the budget of the NAPIMS was trending back in Nigeria. I think it was a month ago. The budget of NAPIMS was online, and you could see they were spending 89 billion on public relations. I mean, they were spending billions on internet, postage, just not overly the top spending, because they don't go for appropriation, so they get internal revenues and they can spend as they deem fit, right? The only law I'm aware of is that they should remit 25%. I'm not sure if they should remit or if they can keep 25%. I'm not really sure of the current status, but one I remember is that the government says they have to remit minimum 25. If it's more than that, someone can let me know, right? So the president is now saying that, listen, lots of money is being spent without appropriation approval. That amount is up to 2 trillion. I want the distinguished senators and honorable members to look into it, right? And then stop more or less the spending of the money. I'm surprised the president is going this route. These MDAs are federal, right? Even though they are federation assets, these are federally. He appoints the CEOs of these MDAs. He appoints the CEO of, say, NPA, of NIMASA. They are appointed by the president. Why can't he call them one by one and say, let me see your budget, and then take action where necessary? So this looks to me like a big PR event. The House of Reps is going to call people in before the election. They're going to talk. They're going to really say, oh, you spend this. Newspapers will carry, but nothing will get done. We've seen this movie before, right? Haven't we seen it before? We've seen it before where lots and lots and lots of folks just come to the National Assembly. They sort of embarrass them, and then, oh, you spend this or this, spend that, and then they go. So, I mean, the fastest way is for the president that appointed the MDA CEOs to call the MDA CEOs and say, why are you not remitting money? Why are you spending money? And if you can't do it, no leave. That to me is the fastest thing that can happen. And that will show a bit of seriousness on the president's part. All right, that's just my take on that. The last story I have here is the domestic airlines, right? The domestic airlines in Nigeria are asking the federal government, or the courts in this case, to terminate the federal government and Ethiopian Air deal. So you have airlines like Azam Airlines, what's the other guys that are Air Peace, Max Air, Top Brass. These are under the Airline Operators of Nigeria. They've essentially gone to court. They've taken Nigerian Air Limited to court. They've taken Ethiopian Airlines, the Attorney General, and of course the Minister of Transportation, the Aviation or Transportation, Sirika. They've gone to court, and their prayer is essentially saying that Ethiopian Airlines was not properly vetted, and that the minister has an interest in the company that did the actual vetting. And it shows there's a security risk. They are saying that if you bring in a foreigner to become the local carrier, it's going to essentially put them out of business, because they, of course, the foreigner will then get this, what they call the BASA, the licenses, right? So Ethiopia will be able to fly to London more times by simply using Nigeria's, what's the word for it? The BASA codes that allows an airline from a country flying to another airline. That's what's going to happen, more or less. So Ethiopia would then be able to use Nigeria's codes to fly to, say, London, to New York, to Hong Kong, in addition to Ethiopia's own code. So they will double their flights, make more money, and of course, an airline like Air Peace will be able to compete, because you can't fly the same way they are flying. So their prayers is that they're essentially saying they don't want the competition, especially competition from a foreign airline. As a Nigerian, you're torn between, should you support their argument or should you just go with the business sense of it? On the business level, Ethiopia is a far better airline than anything Nigeria has. They're the number one airline in Africa. So in terms of quality that are going to bring to the table, they are the number one airline in Nigeria. And hence, it just speaks to how we have run our Nigerian Airways to the ground, and how Ethiopia has basically run theirs and kept theirs really on top. And it's a good relationship because it's Africa to Africa, so we can say, hey, we're handshaking across the African continent to build something good. I see the business sense in it, but I also understand what they are talking about. It's at Nigerian Airlines. And yes, they will get impactly affected if Nigeria gives Ethiopia Airlines its slots. I think they will get impacted a lot. Probably, in my own view, they should allow the local guys in Ethiopia to talk. How come maybe they can share a bit of this spell of this route? Maybe Air Peace can also fly to Dubai and China, using some of the lines that Nigeria will have, and Ethiopian Air can still be technical partners and can still fly. I think it would be maybe a tragedy to allow the local airlines like Air Peace to fail because we have a deal with Ethiopia. I get the business side of it, but I'm not sure Ethiopia or any other country will allow a local airline to fail because they want to essentially have this new airline. It just doesn't seem right in my view. So perhaps we might want to rework that agreement to see how we can bring in the local airlines. It's anti-competition. It's kind of it doesn't sound right to say it, but I will just say maybe we should bring them in and then see what can happen. Right. So the last story I have is this: Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission is recommending that we distribute 10 billion in stabilization funds to the states. Right. So essentially, we have this fund called the Stabilization Fund, and what it's for is that if you are a state and you are into serious economic mess not caused by your actions, then you can get these funds to essentially tide you over. Like, for instance, the Cross River State has been getting, I think, 500 million or so from the stabilization fund because, Cross River lost Bakassi Peninsula and they got a lot of refugees, right, from Bakassi, i.e. from the Cameroon side now, moved over to Cross River State, and of course they had to be settled. So Cross River for 5 years has been getting about 500 million since 2008 from the Stabilization Fund because of this unusual expense of resettling the refugees that have come over from Bakassi, things like that. So the Revenue and Mobilization is basically saying all the states now should get something from the fund because all the states are going through, a hardship. I'm not sure if an economic hardship, in quotes, is an emergency like that. We should go in and take the money from the funds. The states have been poor managers of funds. Remember, the states have gotten a bailout from the Central Bank of Nigeria and also the federal government. They've also gotten an excess share of the Nigerian liquefied natural gas revenues as an extra loan that was given to them way back when we had Ade Osun as the finance minister. That money has gone. There was a leak tape, if you guys remember, a leak tape where the CBN governor was essentially lamenting that the states are not going to pay back. Where was he going to find 500 million naira to cover what he had given to the states? So that's where we are right now, that the states, most of them, they overspend. The states asking for help are the same states that are buying Cadillacs for emirs, the states that are building airports when they should be building schools. So they really don't have that strong case to make. The states are suffering, yes, I agree, but they are also spending on waste, on serious waste. If you give them this money, they're just going to spend it any way they want. Right? Go to Dubai and do whatever there. So perhaps you might want to do a targeted, how it's done across the world, a targeted, grants to say, hey, if you do this, spend this naira on education, we'll also spend a naira on education. So if your state commits to spend 100 million, the federal government gives them 100 million and it goes to education or health, something like that. But just to give them money from the fund, stabilization fund, I don't think that's a good idea. Again, just my opinion, but the states have not been good managers of funds. Maybe you can use money and pay down their debt. That's another way you can do it. Just pay down their debt so they don't have debt, but it's all across the board, right? So you pay down their debt, then they still have their same money, but they're not paying any interest to the debtors. Yeah, no, other stories are also, so that's the three main stories I have this morning. The other ones is the federal government wants to increase its transmission company of Nigeria's capacity by 1,000 megawatts. Wow, 1,000 megawatts. Hey, nice one, and all that. So, and also, what other news there? 5G, we're talking 5G, nothing yet concrete there. But that's what we have, guys. It looks like a good Monday, not a lot of bad news. I think, not a lot of bad news. I think the main news for the week is going to be the Naira exchange value. We saw a lot of up and downs last week. So let's look at it this week and see what's going to happen in terms of the Naira. Is it going to go back up? Is it going to go back down? Also, with the cryptocurrency issues we're hearing with the FTX, what's going to happen to crypto? Right now it's falling. Will that really affect and pull it down completely? Will that be a death nail for anything crypto and all that? We don't know, but we're going to watch it and see what's going to happen. All right, guys, I'm done. I don't see anyone that wants to make a question or a comment. If that's the case, then guys, we'll wrap it up, and I wish you guys, great week ahead. Go out there. We're almost there in December. The year is almost done. It's time to start your annual reviews, guys. What did you plan out in January 2022? Did you achieve it? Why didn't you achieve it? Or why did you achieve it, right? And then from there, you say, what did you do well? What didn't you do well? Do that. Find out look at where you have made more money or where you have lost money. If you've lost money, look at how you can take it back from taxes, right? If you gain money, look at how you can invest it. 2023 is going to be a funny year, right? There's sort of talk of recession. We don't know what's going to happen. No one knows, but it's a time to plan out exactly where you're going to be. It's a time to be liquid, right? You want to be very liquid, so that gives you mobility, right? Because we're not really sure what's going to happen in 2023. The elections in the US are over, so now they can really do what they want to do with crude oil prices. They really don't care now. So we're going to see the real policy of the US in terms of crude oil prices. And if they overdo it, prices may go up. And if prices go up for Nigeria, that's not a good thing, because that means the PMS import price goes up and our deficit also goes up. Yes, we do earn more from crude oil, but that PMS import is really the killer for us. All right, guys, I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much for listening. You guys have a great week ahead. Bye now, and take care of yourselves.